Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills for you to level up your way with words, become much more articulate. In today's episode, I'm going to be entering the land of emotional intelligence, and I'm going to be talking about why the heck does everyone have ADHD nowadays? In 2019, I went to a friend's wedding where I was the groomsman, and I was somewhat surprised I was asked to be a groomsman because I had not talked to this friend in so freaking long. In my freshman year of college, he was my best friend, but throughout college, we joined different fraternities, we didn't hang out as much, and we just completely stopped talking. So when he hit me up in 2019 to be one of his groomsmen, I accepted. I went to the wedding, and once I went to the wedding, I saw his younger brother. Okay? Now, his younger brother and we became really close friends by the time me and the guy who's getting married stopped being as close. I remember when I used to be friends with the younger brother, I thought something was wrong with this guy. In my opinion, he was a little too confident. Too confident to a point where he was somewhat arrogant. And there was just this one day, me and the younger brother, we got in this heated confrontation. I was like, dude, you really need to watch what you say to people. And he was like, oh, Armani, I'm really sorry. I'm just on my meds right now. I act like this when I'm on my meds. I was like, meds for what? And he said, well, I have ADD. He didn't say I have ADHD. He just said I have ADD. It's like, oh, okay, what kind of meds are you on? He said Adderall. I thought, okay, yeah, I mean, I've seen people on Adderall and they act very abrasive. And that's just what they normally act like whenever they're on Adderall. So now your behavior makes sense. We're back to 2019. I'm at this guy's wedding and I run into the little brother. The little brother who used to be in your face, super aggressive, was now just this calm guy. He got really fat. I didn't even recognize him the first time. He's just kind of looking like this, like slouching. He just seems drugged up. And I look at him and I was like, yo, bro, you remember me? We used to be cool back in the days. He's like, yeah. How are you doing? And he's speaking in a very calm demeanor. And I just thought something was strange. He just seemed like a completely different person. Anyways, I mean, he's not the star of the show. The guy who's getting married is the star of the show. So I focused more of my attention on the guy getting married. After the wedding was over, I asked the guy getting married, yo, what's up with your brother, man? Is he good? And mentally, is he good? Like, yeah, dude, like what's happening right now is he's experimenting with some drugs because his initial prescription of Adderall is being outsourced, so we can't necessarily get that. So he's experimenting with something else until we get him some more Adderall. So I'm learning a lot about ADD and ADHD, and this was the first time I ever came in encounter with someone who had something like this, right? Back then, this wasn't that common. And by back then, I mean something like 2019. You could even fast forward a little bit more to 2014. So let's say a decade ago. Fast forward to 2024. I'm talking to people and everyone tells me that they have ADHD. There was actually this one day I had a conversation with one guy who came to my place. He's like, I have ADHD. I told the story to some other people. They were like, we have ADHD too. I told the story to someone else. Within the week, they're like, I have ADHD too. So part of me was like, wait a minute, man. I remember back in the days, that little brother was the guy with it. Now everyone is claiming that they have ADHD. What is the reason for this? And I had a couple of theories as to what the reasons were. The first one, and this one may get me in some trouble, but the first one is I think a lot of people are delusional. I don't think they have ADHD. I think what they have is a misdiagnosing problem. What happened within the past couple of years is ADHD and ADD went from something that's like a taboo topic, like you don't say that out loud. Even if you have it, you're not telling people I have ADHD. It's like you only tell your inner squad. Was the perception, to nowadays where it's the cool thing to do. It's like different people talk about it in such a positive light. I have ADHD. Oh, I actually got diagnosed with ADHD. You didn't even get diagnosed? I remember before, for us in Toastmasters, it was seen as a prestigious day, the day that you became a competent communicator. That meant you finished your Toastmasters book and now you are a part of the club. Nowadays, for this generation, they're joining the club is, this was the day I was diagnosed with ADHD. Are you jealous? And what happens is, it could be something very small. Like they can't probably pay attention like for a decent amount of time and they're like, oh, I guess I got ADHD. Rather than focusing on mechanisms to improve their focus, they just have this victim mentality towards defaulting to ADHD. And whenever I talk to people about this, they get really annoyed, they get very defensive because from their life, they've already put the flag in the ground that they have ADHD. So when they have someone coming up to them saying like, I don't know if I necessarily believe you, I think you threw in the towel a little too quick, they genuinely think that this is me insulting a medical condition of theirs. Or by the way, I do think ADHD and that kind of stuff exists because I've actually witnessed it firsthand from a guy who truly did have it. Like when he's not on it, he's literally just completely scattered. I can see it in his eyes. No matter what he does, he just can't focus. But when he had that Adderall, he was a completely different person. I believe in that kind of stuff. But I don't believe it when everyone apparently has it, right? So I think one reason for everyone having ADHD nowadays is because it's nowadays a fashion statement. It's like people want to say that they have it, so others feel somewhat sorry for them. They excuse their poor attention spans. They tolerate like the constant changing of conversations without having to exercise any sort of restraint when dealing with others. I think that's one reason. Another reason more people are having ADHD, or it seems like that, is because there's more education on it. In 2014 to 2019, there wasn't really any sort of education on it. And back then, people didn't really talk about mental health, depression, therapy, those sort of topics at all. Nowadays, these topics are no longer niche topics. These are mainstream topics. I always say, like, if you want your podcast to blow up, either talk about red pill dating concepts or talk about mental health. These two are such hot markets right now. And the fact that there's some more of a mainstream element to it shows that this is one of those fields that more people are learning more about. And people that had ADHD, like truly did have it, they were completely unaware. There's this motivational speaker. I always forget her name. She's this very stern lady, blonde hair, roughly in her 50s, Mel something. I think it's like Mel Robbins or whatever. She is this high performer. And she apparently had ADHD for decades, but she had no clue until later on in her life. I always thought a person with ADHD was not a high performer, but she was like, no. What happens is a lot of people think ADHD just means you can't concentrate, but that's not what it really means. Then she starts explaining what it really means. I was like, oh, dang, I didn't really know about that. It's like apparently like where you can't stand still. You could be super productive and have ADHD. She was explaining a lot of these concepts where nowadays there's just more education on it. And whenever there's more education on something, the more that people can be like, okay, I guess I really do have it. So I would say that's the second reason why people have ADHD. So these are honestly the two boats that I'm saying. One group, they're just misdiagnosing themselves. They think they have ADHD because it's like a fashion statement. It's a cool thing to say. It's an easy way to win sympathy points. And another group, they really do have ADHD and they're just becoming aware of it because there's more education on the topic nowadays. If you do fall into the first group, I really hope you find different ways to work on your concentration skills, because I think concentration skills is the ultimate luxury in today's world. There's different ways to build it. The simplest way to build it is through communication skills, more specifically through impromptu speaking. You give yourself a topic and you speak about it for a sustained period of time. You don't edit out mistakes. You just keep going forward, 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 and eventually you understand how to get scattered thoughts unified into one piece and stay with that thought for a long period of time. That's a very simple way to build your concentration skills. If you enjoyed today's talk and you want to get more insights like this into emotional intelligence, be sure to go on ArmaniTalks.com/newsletter and sign up for my free daily newsletter for daily talks on improving your communication skills. Join the tribe, and thank you very much for joining me.